This video is meant specifically for people who are starting the game like literally today. I don't think this is worth doing if you are somebody who already started the game, even like if a week has passed. I would say it's a bit rough to do because we have the Epic Dash event going on right now. And every day you miss out on is going to be Skystones lost because you would have to spend Skystones to get these ranks. Plus the premium Moonlit Summon, which I haven't unlocked yet. But this is also a thing. You'd have to spend Skystones to progress that too. But if you're starting the game literally right now, there's a really cool thing where we have an ML5 ticket that we can get. And this ML5 ticket can give you any Moonlight 5-star hero except for the 3 most recent ones. So if you are so willing and you have the time, you can reroll and get a Moonlight 5-star that is hopefully good. A couple things to note is that, of course, you don't want to take too long with this because of the Epic Dash event that I mentioned. This is Skystones Lost. And also, this coupon thing is per account. So if you reset your server, I don't think that's going to work. I would assume you have to delete your entire account and go again with the same email. You can try by resetting server once. I don't know if it works or not. I'm pretty sure you have to delete account though, because coupons are typically once per server. So for the coupon, you can redeem it here. If you're on mobile, at the bottom here, there's going to be a enter coupon thing, but this is not on the PC client. If you're on PC, you'll have to go to this website, and then you can log in the Stove, put the code here, and hit submit. I already submitted though, so it says exceeded its use count. Let's take a look at the reroll tier list though, just for anybody who is interested in rerolling. We should of course mention that these 4 units are not available: Ainz, Boss Runka, Aria, and Light Tenebria. And also we have a lot of free ML5s, so you want to make sure you're not picking a unit that you'll get for free. The Moonlight Blessing 1, which you get at the end of the 6th world, gives you Arbiter Vildred. Arbiter Vildred is easily the best one of the 6, with Roll of Light being the second best. I would say though that I don't think Roll of Light is worth rerolling for, which means that Arbiter Vildred's not worth rerolling for either, just because you'd get him for free anyways. For the Moonlight Blessing Fallen Land, there are 7 units here. Deathdealer Ray, Soulmate Sage Vivian, Conqueror Lilius are probably the only 3 worth looking at right now. So these all have their issues. I would say Deathdealer Ray's the one you're going for, and I don't think these 2 are worth rerolling for, which means that Deathdealer Ray is not worth rerolling for either. And then notably, there's the Boss Selector. These actually have some pretty good units. I would say that they're not super new player friendly, but because you might end up rerolling for one of these, because I think they are on the upper end of units, it's just worth keeping in mind that you'll get one of these for free if you had one of them in mind. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual tier list though. The main thing is, if you're going to be rerolling, you probably want to aim for a good unit. There is a large number of units that I don't think are worth starting an account with. Some of them are just really bad. Most of these units down here are pretty horrible, unsorted, but there's also a good amount of units that are pretty good. They're not bad. I just don't think they're super new player friendly, and it's not a unit I would want to start off an account with. And then, of course, there's a couple units here that are free, but starting off at the very top is New Moon Luna. This unit is just super, super insane. She has the ability to remove all buffs from enemies, seal everybody, which makes it so their passives don't activate, and also prevents them from getting buffs. And she also deals pretty solid damage with her S2 that deals a bit of damage to everybody, and she has really fast cycling because she gets so much combat readiness push. She's been an insane unit for a full year at this point, still looks really insane. I think she's easily the highest priority unit for you to target, just because she's pretty easy to use too, and she works against so many things. So definitely the best unit to start off with. After that, I would say it's Lone Wolf Feyre. This unit is also really good. I just think she's only really good in World Arena. I don't think you can really use her reliably on offense in Guild War or normal arena. And you can use her on defense. I just don't like factoring in defense into things because you're not going to roll a unit just to only put them on your defense. I think that is not a great use of your rolls, but she is really strong. It's just you're not going to get to use her for a long, long time. She is a unit that's built with pretty high speed, same with Muna, but I think that she works decently even on lower speeds. And then there is Empyrean Elnav or Emily. Emily, she's built as an HP scaling bruiser. She does damage. She's really tanky. The main thing for her is her S2 is really good. It reduces penetration from units, which greatly reduces their damage. Uh, she is going to be a bit hard to get full use out of as a newer player, but she'll still be solid just because of her S2 passive, and her S3 does cleanse all debuffs from your entire team, so you have some level of utility there. I think she's just like a decent tank to start off with. There's also Fallen Cecilia, who Fallen Cecilia, she is also just another really good protection tank. Her S2 reduces the damage you take from fixed damage sources, which is pretty important because there's a certain unit running around, very, very common, Renok, who does a ton of fixed damage, and Fallen Cecilia is really good into her. Plus, she just overall has really good protection, a ton of barriers and skill nullifiers, and the provoke. So just a really nice protection knight, or a defensive knight to have. There's also Spirit Iceline. The Spirit Iceline, I'm rating a little bit higher just because I think she's really easy to use. Her S3 revives everybody on your entire team and gives them immortality, or if they're not dead, they just get immortality. Her S1 does a ton of damage with her exclusive equipment from Hall of Trials, which isn't too hard to get. You get a free Soulburn on her S1 too, giving her an extra turn, so she gets to do a bunch of damage. And it also increases the damage of her first Soulburn. She's just a really solid DPS with a great S3, full cleanse, revive, immortality, and her S2 gives her a bit of survivability because you can't one-shot her unless it's with extra damage sources. She only takes 50% of her damage or her HP per hit. So just a nice DPS to work with early for PvP, I think. And then there's Abyssal Euphine. This unit is another unit I think it's hard to get the full usage out of early, especially because she has a pretty strict gearing requirement where you need her to be at least 2,000 defense for her to really get her bonuses from her S3. Without that, she only gets half the bonuses, but it's still something. The main thing, though, is her S2 is also really good. It's a passive that reduces combat readiness push by 50%. So she's going to be able to reduce people who are trying to play fast into you. And then when you do fill up her fighting spirit, she will pop off with her S3. So this is the main 6 I would aim for. If you hit New Moon Luna, that's obviously the best one, but rerolling for one unit out of this entire list can be pretty hard. To expand the list by a little bit, I would say these units aren't like great to start off with, but they're pretty solid ML5s that I don't think will be too annoying to work with. There's Briar Witch's Area. This unit, her S2 passive is permanent extinction. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because your units will also be extincted, meaning they can't be revived. Like I mentioned, Spirit Iceline has revived, so she prevents that. And there's other reviver units on this list too, like Reroll, who I mentioned earlier. She's just good because extinction is very nice to have, especially with Genesis Ross coming out, the free knight ML5, who also has revive in his kit. She's also a pretty strong both opener and just general cleave DPS support because she has Death Break on her S3 and you can ignore any resistance if you soul burn it. So I think she's just a solid pickup and very nice to have around. There's also Dragon Bright Zenya, who I think works really well with certain units, especially early game. She's very easy to use. You just stack her with HP and some speed, and that's it. Her whole thing is when the unit in the back slot gets low, she'll proc her S2, which cleanses all debuffs from her and the person in the back, gives both of them a barrier, and then she becomes immune to debuffs. And it also turns her S3 into a giant nuke, and it resets her S3 cooldown. So this, paired with Arbiter Villager, who you get for free, I think is a pretty nice combo early. You just get to RB revives, drops his S3 nuke, and then Dragon Bright Zenya does her S3. Very nice to have, and she's still really good even in later parts of the game. There's also Straze. Straze is just big, giant damage duke. There's not much else to say about him, but his main thing is that whatever he's looking at, he targets the highest HP enemy on the enemy team. That thing is probably dying. So he's really, really nice just to one-shot something, and if you build him with enough damage, his AoE damage is honestly enough to kill everything, because with his exclusive equipment, he gets the extra turn on his S3, so he can S3 into S2, which does a ton of damage. He's such a ridiculously good DPS. And then for PvE purposes, you can use him to one-shot hunts, which is probably going to be a little bit more relevant. It depends on what they're doing with the hunt improvements, if those are actually worth farming or not. And then we have Lionheart Sermia. This unit, her passive is when enemy uses a counter attack or an extra attack or a dual attack, she'll proc her S2, push up 50%, get defense buff and immunity buff, and then drop giant AoE with her S3. There's a lot of those things I mentioned, counter extra dual attacks in the game. So she gets the proc pretty easily, and then her damage is really, really high. I think she's pretty easy to use early, and she's also, with her most recent buff, pretty solid right now, so I think she's a decent pickup. And then there is Blood Moon Haste. This guy, when somebody dies, everybody that's still alive gets a giant barrier plus immunity buff, and then his S3 targets one person, full death pens, and it'll revive everybody on his team if it kills. So he is just another reviver unit, and really nice. His S1 also, if he strips a debuff, or if he strips a buff and he can soul burn it to ignore effect resistance, he will heal everybody. So he's sort of like a healer bruiser hybrid kind of unit with a revive on his S3. Very nice to have as well. And then there is Zio. Zio is a little bit lower just because despite his really strong S2, which gives him 20% CR push at the start of the game, meaning that he nearly guarantees turn 1, he's a bit hard to use, especially for newer players. You still do need him pretty fast because even with the 20% CR push at the start of the fight, people can outspeed him. And then even if you take first turn, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win without proper setup. There are certain units that synergize really well with him, but you need the gear for it, and you need to be able to have options in case they pick certain things into you, so it's a little bit hard to use. That's why he's only down here, but he is still a good unit to have, I think. So Arceti is kind of similar. She has a very unique passive where all units in the game are capped at 90% of her speed. So she guarantees turn 1 except for Zio, because Zio will get 20% additional CR at the start of the fight, so he pushes past her. But for everybody else, she forces them to be slower than her. So she kind of negates a lot of speed advantage that units can have. And then in Guild War and Arena, you can use her into defenses, into fast defenses, and just force them to be slow and remove a lot of their stats. The only thing is you can't control who's going after you because of CR RNG, 0 to 5% at the start of the fight. So that can be a little bit annoying. There are certain units that combo with her decently. She negates all CR pushes on her turn, so you can't really properly push any units up, but there's still some units that have nice effects that work with her. Again, similar thing to Zio, you're not going to have those units on hand, but if you don't feel like rerolling a ton, which is what this entire tier is for, she can be nice to just have if you just want to get started playing. Sea Phantom Politis, Opera unit, not as strong as Imun Luna or Lone Wolf Peyra. I do think she's better than Peyra in offense in Guild War and Arena, but that's not really like super important, I think. I do think she's still decent though, because there is a fire unit, Genua, you can get who synergizes really, really well with her. And that's very nice for Guild War and Arena, so I think she's still a decent pickup. And then there's this full tier here where these are all units, like I mentioned, these units are fine. I just want to start off with them. All of these units have various issues, like they're really hard to gear. You need to be super fast for them, like for Conqueror Lilius or Hellion Lua, they need to be really, really fast. Or they're really niche. They're not, maybe not super niche, but their effect is too specialized. Like, Desert Jewel Bazaar and Bellion get used a ton, but their effects are for a really specific thing, which I would say you're probably not wanting. Like, you want a bit more of a general thing that you can use. Uh, like, a lot of these units here are, I would say, good. It's just hard to use. But if you're really sick of rerolling and you hit something like this, good enough, whatever, just move on. But ideally, I would aim for, well, ideally, it's just S, and then this expands your options a bit, and then if you don't want to reroll much, then just get one of these. So that is it for the quick reroll tier list. Again, this is really just aimed at people who are starting the game, like, right now. I wouldn't really reset your account for this unless maybe you're like a day or two in. Keep in mind you're paying Skystones every time you reset. And of course, keep in mind the free MLs you get from the game plus the upcoming selector. Just for fun, on this random account I started, let's see what we get. The Mage. And we hit top model Luluka, who is completely useless. Did I even remember to include her here? Yep. Not worth rerolling for and bad. So unfortunate.